Um, so, welcome to this video. Um, this one's going to be a hard one. Whoever may be watching this not live, this video is going to have a different purpose than normal. Normally, I'm here to give some facts about how to develop or how to do certain things, or maybe some tips on some self-reflection, that type of thing, right? Well, I'm now in the state where it's like doing psychology. I've always felt like an alien and like I never belonged. There was an aspect of me that felt lost, um, like it was never here. I fit in. I felt like I was not born in this world. I felt like I needed to be like everyone else. I felt like I needed to be um, this society. I felt like there was a bunch of shackles and I was dragging myself along with it. I felt trapped. I felt confused, right? I never felt comfortable. I never felt like I was actually at home. I felt that every experience I was having wasn't actually me having the experience. I felt I was so long. I was born in the wrong place, like some accident happened in the universe, and here I was, an accident. And so, because of that, I started studying psychology to figure out what was wrong with me, and that I was broken. And I thought I was just like a personal development journey way back when I was, 10 or 12 or whatever age. Um, and then I focused on becoming better here, right? But I will caution the people watching this video that this is, again, much of a reflection video. You might get something out of it. You might feel like you've completely wasted your time. But I think it's important that the people who are seeking more understand the difference between self-actualization and self-realization, right? Self-actualization is becoming better at the self that you think. Sometimes you spend a lot of time trying to actualize the wrong self. When you put yourself in an experience, right? And let's say that you're in the hospital and you feel you feel like you're losing a part of yourself. But then you realize your arm gets cut off and you're still there. And your arm is no longer you, but you're still there. Now, let's say they cut off your legs too, but your other arm, and you're still you. I know this is a really drastic example, but just follow me here. What if they cut off your head? What if they cut off your head, off your body? So do you identify with your body or do you identify with your head? Follow me here. Just follow me. I know this may sound weird. Okay, so let's say that your head is still alive somehow. They're using machinery and pumping blood and everything through your head, and somehow it's still alive. So let's say that your head is still alive somehow. They're using machinery and pumping blood and everything through your head, and somehow it's still alive. Concept, right? They take the skin off your head. They take the bones off your head. But is it your brain that's still you? So do you really identify with your brain or your body? What is me? At what point during that process, What is me? At what point during that process do you think that you will no longer be you? Some people lose a car. Then the person who loses the whole body, that's where they lost, maybe that's where they lost their sense of self. And the person who loses the car has lost their sense of self. Who is more extreme? What situation is more extreme? That's to each feels like they've lost their sense of self. Now, what if the head actually has never lost their sense of self, regardless of how much they strip away? Now let's think about the brain. What if they start stripping away pieces of the brain? What part? So would it be fair to say that there is a particular part of the brain that you think is you? So we all go this quest to figuring out who we are. But then we realize that that is not actually who we are. But that you're aware and you're still aware. What if all that you're aware and you're still aware? What if all your senses are shut down? Your senses are shut down and you're still aware of what's happening. Then is that awareness you? So the real you, what is it? Do you self-actualize first in order to self-realize, or do you self-realize in order to self-actualize? This is the trick, that the situation that I've been in for years, thinking that I can improve who I am, because through understanding, you're causing movement. And that movement is often blocked or misunderstood. It's like trying to walk toward your feet. It's complicated for people to understand that, right? How can you walk toward your feet? So when you make these assertions or assertions rather, that you are someone who, what is it that you're identifying? Because there are times when what is it that you're identifying? Because there are times when you are removed from what this is. So in my other videos, I've talked about these keys to mastery. So in my other videos, I've talked about these keys to mastery, right? I've talked about focusing on the body. I've talked about focusing on the body. I've talked specifically, now I'm talking about the spirit, right? And a lot of people are scared of spirituality because they feel like they're going to be put in some systematic dogma, right? Or if you're an atheist, you think there is no such thing. The point is still the same. If you are an agnostic, or you're a person who doesn't believe in anything outside of what you can perceive in physical reality, that's okay. But just follow this methodology here. If that is the case, that it is, then what it is to you is just the senses. Then you are identified with the body, right? But the question is, who is the you that is like doing the identifying? At what point is the you now no longer you? Are we the body? Because if you truly identify with the body, then you're also identifying with the thoughts and the thought that you are the body. And is the thought tangible? I don't know. There's a perspective that I've given as holes of this reality. There are holes in the physical reality now. I've see that no object is actually touching each other. Atoms don't actually connect per se. The space in between the atom, there's no connection there. So even in the air that we cannot see or really perceive other than breathing it, maybe smelling it, if you're not in the best area, maybe that air, it doesn't even connect with itself. Is it blank? Is there nothing? Is it emptiness? No molecules whatsoever? Then you have empty space. Anyway, this is a reflection, like I said. There's nothing to teach here. You have all the answers that you need at this exact time. The only time that lessons will appear to you is when you're ready to receive them. There's no convincing that needs to be done. There's no answer that needs to happen other than you receiving what it is you need to receive in this exact moment. Even if you think everything I've said is complete bullshit and utterings of a madman, that's true too. I am a madman. But only a fraction of that sentence has the truth. So, I can't explain to you what it is, but if you spend time preparing yourself in a way the universe moves, and I say the universe, let's just say reality, right? We all know that it's outside of our control. So why are we wasting so much time trying to resist the natural flow? That's the question. When you start sitting back and you start becoming aware of what's happening, you know, I used to think there was all, at the end of the day, it'll all work out. It'll all work out in the end, right? That's the mantra we tell ourselves. Oh yeah, it'll all work out in the end. Work out for whom? Me? You? Everyone? I mean, I believe it, but when we say that, what question are we asking? When we say that, what do we actually mean? Is it going to work out? It's like saying, you know, all your dreams are going to come true in the end, but we know that's not true. Some people die in a car accident. Some people believe it all. Some people believe that it's God's plan. I don't think it's anyone's plan. I think it's it. I think it simply is. But what do I know? I don't have the answers for you. You do. You have the answers. There's no one to listen to. There's no gurus. There's no sages. There's no people that can guide you in your own path to wherever that path may be, right? Yes, there's people who can help you self-actualize, but the only person that can help you find the real self, which is who you. I'll tell you that I was looking in the wrong place the whole time. It's interesting because throughout time, we've been at this point where we expand. We're always finding, let's go to the bottom, find how big this really is. But I felt like going into the human mind was the deepest. Going into the soul was the deepest. What is the soul? What is the spirit? Right? In your certain religions, and by all means, continue to hold on to your beliefs. But I think beliefs are what limits us. Even that in itself is a belief. The place of no belief, it is. The question that I bring myself to when I come to this place. And I think when the experience of having is important to understand what it's like to not have. So when there is, right, you're seeking some aspect, and maybe you'll attain it. Maybe you'll actualize yourself, or the self that you think you are, and spend a lot of time trying to become a better version of what you are, or what you think you are, or who you think. You get close to that point. Well, at least for me, I realized it's like thinking I'm a strong man by working out my pinky. It's like, yes, I have the strongest pinky in the world. But it was actually understanding that that is only one aspect, right? And I realized freedom comes from knowing. The freedom comes from releasing all notions, experiencing isness as is, the place of no belief. And some of you may not know what I'm talking about, so feel free to log off this video or unsubscribe if you hate the content, because the subscribers don't even really make a difference, do they? This does not mean I'm going to sit on my ass and do nothing. Because if you place a rock in the middle of the ocean, it's still doing something. If you place a very long pipe into the ground, it's still doing something. It's doing its job. And the concept of that is very hard for one to understand. That I am doing my part of where I am drawn to. Can I answer all the questions? No. Am I a spiritual master? No. Am I knowledgeable or better? Am I better than you? No. The fact even on this technology and recording this video impresses me beyond all, right? It impresses me because to me, if I was born and I literally had goggles and I was staring just at this computer screen my entire life, and I had the headphones and my hands could not reach certain parts of my face, and I'm extending my hands into this VR here, right? And I'm just interacting with this video here. And this is all I could see and hear my entire life, right? I see text on the side of the screen, and somehow I know be in the sense of my perception of who I am. Who would I be? I mean, I wouldn't be seeing me because I'd have a big box on my head, but I would be seeing something. Would I think that I am the box on my head? Something. Would I think that I am the box on my head? Particular aspect of reality, and I start seeing holes in it. And you see light shining through. And you start seeing endless abyss of darkness. And those stars are holes in physical reality, right? Now, some of you may think I'm acting really weird right now. So I what it's like to be free, or what it's like to develop and work on your body, or work out, or I can start talking about what relationships are like. I can get all excitable, right? It's not some weird mood that I'm discussing. It's a realization. It's a reflection. I've spent personality is who I am, or at least I thought that's who I was. And then I realized my personality was a construct of my perception. If I were to take away all my senses, then I wouldn't even be aware of my own personality. Then who am I, right? Who am I? I used to wonder, if you were blind, deaf, and dumb, you know, how would you see yourself? Right? How would you see yourself? It's interesting because their ego has not identified with, let's say, somebody telling them who they are. And let's remove the tactile too. Let's say they have no tactile. They can't feel anything. At what point does this person now recognize who they are? This is when you start removing these aspects, you start seeing, like, okay, here it is. Here's the personality. Then what am I when I'm observing the personality? Because I when I pulled out of I observed my personality in action. And not from a, hey, here's a thought, observing a thought perspective, right? It was a realm of no thought. The Chinese, I believe, call this no wu shin, if I'm correct. I'm wrong, I don't speak Chinese, but yeah, wu shin, I believe it's called no wu shin, or wu shin. It means no mind. That's the place where it comes from. Now, some of you may think these are just ancient crack monkeys who just think things that don't make sense. But when you experience what it is, to have no thought versus thought, the perception of has no definition, because it would take thought to define it. Like I said, it would be like trying to walk toward your feet. Understanding of what it is comes from. And then you can watch your personality as an aspect or an extension of what your awareness is being able to see. Nothing fascinates me more and to use the mind to try to understand. But it's round and round you go. Lightright says it's important to go in excess before you know the boundaries. Would you agree that this is true to figure out who you are? No. No, I don't. To assume that you would need to do something to see something that is already there is a fallacy. Well, at least a fallacy in the sense of what is real, right? There is a point that it requires nothing. There's nothing you have to do. And if you understand what nothing is, then that's when you're actually set free. Because to some, nothing is doing, whereas other people, the nothing may be like me, where I have to produce content and create stuff because that is the role that I play. So when I speak of these things and I say nothing, it is because we create constructs of what has to be done, but not being in touch with the teacher, not being in touch with the ever mover, right? It doesn't matter what your belief system is. There is something that moves you, that keeps you alive, right? And I'm not talking about some grand designer or some puppet master or whatever it is, but somehow, some way, some shape, some form, you're here. And you may think the end is psychology and it's just your brain and it's just the science behind it. That's fine too. But actually understand that, and that's what you believe, you're still being moved. You still have consciousness. It's just the choice you make, right? If you stopped perceiving boundaries, when would your boundary end? Imagine being removed from all the senses and extending your arm. An aesthetic perception. If you move your arm, are you moving the whole world in your own head? Where does your arm actually end? Where does your leg actually end? So the idea is that if you're moving, yet you're resisting the flow, you're resisting the endless dance of life, and the joy that comes with seeing life and seeing what it is, and you're resisting that joy and you're then that may be your nothing. The key is to do what you're supposed to do. That's the key. That's the answer, is to do what you were meant to do. The question that follows is, how do I know what I was meant to do? Stop trying. I was once told that by a mentor of mine, a very wise sage. He said, they will be eternally defeating. And I thought this meant never set goals. It's funny how sages speak, because they speak in a way that you can't perceive until you're ready. He used to tell me also, he said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and a teacher is ready, the student will appear. And I didn't ever understand that beyond what the cliche understanding is. But the teacher is still teaching, although he is not here. And the teacher is still teaching because I'm reflected. And I thought he meant never set goals in the sense of never setting goals. But the idea behind that was actually do not set goals that are in contradiction with the goals that are set for you. That's what the beauty of it is. There's nothing to attain other than what you have to attain. There is so much non-being in being and being in non-being. Says that the minute we brand something as good, it becomes ugly. And the minute that we brand something as ugly, it becomes good. And Saren here is talking about information synthesis. That's not what I'm talking about, but to make some good points. When you let go of what you think it is, and you see that there is more, then it speaks for itself. First place. I wrote something earlier, and it is what is self-realization? It cannot be understood in the traditional sense. It cannot be described, and it cannot be explained. Because attempting to encapsulate it would remove exactly what it is. There's a term school talk about essence and what essence is, right? And this is the problem with modeling essence, is that there is no way to do it. If you open up the beginning of the Tao Te Ching, and Tao Te Ching is partially, you know how they say there's a little bit of truth in everything? Well, that's true. No pun intended. It says the way, the Tao Te Ching in the very beginning, it says the way that can be spoken of is not the constant Tao. The name that can be named is not the constant name. And the namelessness is the origin of heaven and earth. And the named is the mother of all things. Thus, the constant void enables one to observe the true essence. The constant being enables one to see the outward manifestations. The two compare a different name. There's people who've spent their entire life trying to understand this text. Just like people have spent their entire life trying to understand the Bible. And there's a point where you can understand it, then there's a point where you know it. But I received nothing of what he said at the time. He said, he told me once, he said, you know, if you want to understand, then you must learn to forget first. He's like, then you learn, and then you learn, and you learn to understand that either at the time, which was what I was trying to do. And he always told me I had this frenzied analytical mind, trying to understand everything. And he took me outside. He kind of slapped me on the back of the head, and he said, look at the sun. Well, it was actually a sunset. set. Now, he goes, and unless you can tell me why the sun actually rises every day and falls every night, and you can explain why this is the way it is in every facet and every detail, I will never be impressed. Do that. He also told me to stop trying to understand everything because there's no beauty in it. He said, if you try to understand why it does all this, you'll find that you strip it of its qualities. Because separation is what creates our problems. Being separate from the whole is what creates our problems. Not understanding what the flow of life is. Remember earlier when I said you might ask the question, how do I find what I was meant to be? Is by being more connected and be free. And understanding the natural unfoldment of things. And that's where I haven't realized what the hell I was doing. I had so many people tell me how ambitious I was, determined I was. And that created my self-identity to be this ambitious, determined person. And when I felt at times, I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't have a clue. So I tried to get the ambition back, and I forced it to get the ambition back. And I got it back. Thought I was on some path. The problem is I laid a path in the first place. There's freedom in no path. In realizing the only thing that matters is right now. Even listening to the pauses in between my words makes me think there's a beauty in it. Why fill it with useless noise? To really understand until now. They always used to mention the master that taught me used to always mention stillness, and I never really understood it. I understood it, but now I have a knowing of what is beyond. Anyway, there's a lot of reflection here, a lot of things that are days ago, 8 days ago, 3 years ago that no longer matter right now. But the idea is that life is playing its perfectly synchronized dance. And it's the expression of life itself. And that dance is so powerful, so loving, so ultimate, so embracing, an undescribable light. An undescribable sense of beauty. because everything and nothing wouldn't exist without it. And in the realm of nothingness, nothingness exists within this place. So how does one experience this? You don't experience it. It experiences you, or at least your idea of you. You know how we have a desire to know ourselves? We want to know who we are, right? Is knowing upon itself, just like we do, or at least we attempt to do. But it does it through the us. You don't do or experience this thing, and it's not even a thing. There's no word to explain. Let's just call it the Tao, even though the Tao doesn't even summarize it, because that's assuming that it's outside of you. It's a place of true non-duality that has no answer, because an answer would define it. And if it's defined, it assumes it has boundaries. It assumes that it is separate from the whole, but it is the whole. So it does not need nor deserve and that's the thing that I've uncovered. Adrian says, what I found is that generally people know who they are. They are the things that they deeply with to do. It probably meant want to do, but are holding themselves back. People know who they are. I think they forget who they are, actually. I think they're inherently know who they are, and then they put yes, that's what they do. My head hurts from all the walls that I've run into. He also says, at the same time, truly getting to know these things from simple urges is the real challenge. One must dig extremely deep to find these things. The question is, who is doing the wanting? Because if it's a concept of separation, then it's not you doing the wanting, it's the idea of you doing the wanting. That's where the trick is. You know, when I used to read scripture, I say used to because I haven't so much lately anymore, but when I used to read scripture, I always believed that the thing about scripture, I always believed that Satan or the devil believed in a guy with a pitchfork jumping around in hell. I thought that the ultimate trickster, the ultimate deceiver, is the human ego. Nothing can trick you more than the ego. A giant trick. And it can be my ego thinking that it's a trick. That's the wonder of it. And to assume that there is a true answer, it's to assume that there is a separation between truth and that's where the mind goes, is thinking that there is separation. There are facts, ways that we describe this tangible reality, yes. There's also not facts, non-facts, but they exist. Non-facts exist. Yeah. They don't have truth. They're not necessarily defining things accurately, but they exist. There's a whole world of non-facts. They're intangible. You can't grab a non-fact, but they exist because we speak of them. We share them. We communicate them. They both exist. Facts and non-facts. Facts exist as an observation of reality. Non-facts exist as an idea. In what existence can they coexist? In this one. And that's the crazy part about all this, is I'm not speaking simple left and right, right and wrong, good and evil. I'm speaking of totality. Am I right? And I look at the holy ideas of the Enneagram, and I'm pulling it up right now on my computer. I'm going to pop it over here on the other screen so I can actually look at it. Okay, so if I look at Enneagram Holy Ideas, okay, this page is taking a second to load. When you remove the veil, and this is coming from my own brain, I'm just using this little map here, and if you wanted to see what I'm doing, hold on, let's see if I can share my screen on this thing. Sure can't. Okay, so I can't share it on this live video, but what I will do is explain this to you. So there is love, which is Enneagram 9, perfection, which is 0.1, will 0.2, harmony 0.3, origin 0.4, omniscience 0.5, strength 0.6, wisdom 0.7, truth 0.8, love is 0.9. So I started with that, right? And when we look at this model of what these vantage points of reality surrounds the Enneagram in each point. But then when we look at it and we see these points, these are just vantage points, right? And I identified my personality with Enneagram 8, and underneath that false illusion idea of self is holy truth. No, it is not I that sees truth. It is I that lives in truth. Truth lives through me. I don't live in truth. I don't know truth. Truth is foreign to me, but yet it exists outside of me. And therefore I am what I am. The most powerful statement ever made, ever said, ever quoted, in my opinion, is I am. Ever quoted, in my opinion, is I am. So how does one do this? How does one who's seen this video and goes, what the hell is crack is this guy on? The student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is ready, the lesson will appear. This video may not help anybody. You know, I used to take a lot of pride in my ground. I kind of want to be grounded in reality. And I was really just scared of lifting the veil that I've identified with so much. There's no harm in actually being more than what us perceived as who we are, because it's the infinite. That's what's so fascinating about this, how this unfolds in its own natural way, and it's awe-inspiring. There's no answers. Craig feels like running and meditating. He likes to run and meditate. It's good. Yes, we are each a unique expression of the universe experiencing itself through us, its creations. Yes, it's a good way to define it. But even then, everything that I say, communicating meaning, I'm inherently right and wrong. Communicating meaning, I'm inherently right and wrong at the same time. I'm wrong because meaning can't be captured when I speak of the whole. When I speak of the whole, everything I say is a way to define something, and it cannot be defined. When I try to explain it's mind-blowing. So I will say that I'm not going to make a lot of these spiritual videos, or at least these reflection spiritual videos, because these journeys have to be your own. These journeys have to be your own. I will be doing a lot of writing on them, but I'm still me. I just am me with a different perspective. We all say is true. Everything we all say is true. Everything we all say is false. It all exists. Everything we all say is false. It all exists in non-existence, and non-existence in existence. It's a natural unfoldment realizing itself outside of space and time. Even that is in full detail. So here's the thing. I will be posting content as far as developing yourself, and a lot of self-actualization content. I'm already in the midst of practicing self-actualization and enjoying the aspect of this reality, because we're here to enjoy it. And if you don't feel like it's your path, give everything I say a big F you and move on. If you feel like you like what I have to say, everybody has potential within them. Everybody has potential to be something. Everybody has potential to be more. And they already are more in my own way of thinking, but they have potential to be more as they are experiencing. Anyway, or maybe you got nothing out of it. I've always kind of made it my promise to deliver value, and I'm going to continue to do that. But I thought this would be an interesting video to at least see where people are, where you guys are. And I think that's the real answer. I think the answer is to do the best you can, live this life to the fullest, but live it by living in the moment. Live it by living now. And if you don't feel like you have to live now, then don't live now. Do what you need to do and sit on your ass. Be the rock. That's very, very, very accurate, I think. Hope you guys will continue. I think the answer is to do the best you can, live this life to the fullest, but live it by living in the moment. Live it by living now. And if you don't feel like you have to live now, then don't live now. Do what you need to do and sit on your ass. Be the rock. Greg, I appreciate that. That's very, very, very accurate, I think. Hope you guys will continue, press forward. And next week maybe even sometime this week, I'll post a video, probably moving back into the health realm, talking about some crazy stuff that I've come up with in the recent videos. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what the demand is. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Have a good night.